All right, so it looks like we might
We're
be
on.
going live. Almost live. We're going live. I'm not sure. Let's just double check this, Dan. Whoa, yay!
We're on.
It looks like we're on live and we're talking live. Let's talk about ice live from the Gold Coast and Sydney. And guys, I'm just super, super excited for tonight's show and that I get to host it. So thanks so much for following and for sharing this post. When you share, you actually share our stories, and it helps people understand the dangers associated with drugs. We're talking about ice as a spearhead, but we're talking about drugs. We're talking about addiction. We're talking about the impact of that on us, on humanity, on our society. And we have an amazing guest tonight. And I can't wait to introduce him. Danny, welcome so much to the show. I've been can't wait. And I've spoken to you before, but I haven't really heard your full story. So I'm super excited.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, always. Look, I'm really inspired by everything you have achieved and everything we are doing. I love how you just mentioned then, like maybe just sharing the story gives someone else an opportunity to hear a story of hope that they might not have heard. So, yeah, it's my pleasure to be here, mate. Thank you.
That's awesome, bro. I saw today on some media channel, somebody sent it to me. You were on TV and you were, talking about some work that you're doing and some of your recovery stuff. So tell me a little bit about what that was about.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. Was that today? Was that the one you shared a couple of days ago? I've been posting a couple. I've been really lucky. So this week I'm just each day I'm just going to post an article, a film. But I wonder if it was at the current, if it was the current affair episode. Yeah, I did. I got interviewed by Dimity Clancy, just more around my journey of recovery and certainly some of the effects that drugs had on me. And ice was a big part of my journey for the last 6 years of being addicted. I'm very blessed to be over a decade clean and sober now, but back then, but yeah, so she was just documenting some of that story.
That's awesome. I loved seeing it. And I just really stand for us being a mouthpiece as a warning symbol to society and also for people that are navigating that journey, not only wanting to get out of that space, but also families trying to help loved ones. They don't understand. They are still, they're looking for something from us to be able to give them a bit of, shed some light on the situation. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved
I think that's beautiful, Andrea. I agree. Like the family members, and also just representing all the, like I know hundreds and hundreds of people who are in recovery, living a wonderful life too, and like maybe they're not out here sharing their stories like you and I are, but like I literally can't walk far out my front door without bumping into another person in recovery who's absolutely killing it too. And I don't know that the community and society knows how many of us there is. Like we're everywhere. Us recovering addicts. I guess some of them just aren't as loud and proud about it as I am, and maybe you also.
well, we're
Yeah.
gonna. Hey, Danny. I'm interested in hearing. Go back. I want to go back to like Danny as a boy. I want to go
Oh,
back to what was your life like? Because you know what happens. Like people out there go, "Oh yeah, no, drugs that won't happen to my family. Like it only happens to people in the low socio-economic kind of environment, really." And like they kind of put a label on people, and that really like disturbs me. So I like to hear people's stories. Tell me a bit about
yeah.
Danny as a kid and what was your family like?
Yeah, no worries. I think that's a great point, Andrea, because when I first entered recovery, well, maybe not first entered, but maybe back in 2008, I remember being around a lot of 12-step fellowship meetings and hearing some really, really horrific stories of child abuse. And I'm not someone who did suffer from child abuse, My family was a little bit unstable for sure, but I hear some horrible stuff. And anyway, my point is, I used to think that maybe I'm not bad enough to be here, and maybe I didn't belong. But what I did discover after going back out there and using drugs again and ruining my life, going back to prison, is my problem was like with the drugs, regardless of my family, the minute I picked up, I just never stopped either. So just on that, I think I think everybody deserves a chance, an opportunity to to get clean. But yeah, so I had to look. I always say I had this beautiful, loving mum. Her name's Maria. She taught me everything good I know. I believe she taught me all my values, all my morals, and I mentioned her because she sort of always in the background hung on, and I got to play a huge part of my recovery to my mum because I reckon, all those 17 years that she tried and I didn't listen, I don't feel like that ever went unheard. Like I feel like it all had a massive impact. So if anyone's out there, a loved one, and feels like you're banging your head against the wall and you get nowhere, I'm here to tell you that like even though my poor mum did that for 17 years, I truly owe everything to her and my recovery. And then I got my dad. My dad's a criminal. My dad's nickname Shonky, and he taught me everything I shouldn't know. Like my dad was my fence. He used to buy all our stolen equipment. He used to send me and my mates out doing breaking enters, and so it's like I learned all the good stuff from my mum, and bless my dad too. My dad's an absolute legend. My dad visited me in jail every week. He would always be there. It's not as if he didn't. I called him Tony from as long as I can remember. He told me to call him Tony, and so we never had like any kind of father-son relationship. There was certainly my dad had never said I love you or anything like that. I've said it to him since being in recovery. That was an awkward conversation, but yeah. So yeah, it was a pretty good childhood. Really, I left home at a young age, about 14, and that's where shit hit the fan, Andrea.
Wow. So, pretty average upbringing. Were you naughty?
Yeah.
Were you naughty when you were in school?
Oh, look, yeah,
I
I got kicked out of school. I I was a really popular kid. It sounds weird to say that, but I'll tell you why I was popular because I was a really good skateboard rider. And
Yeah.
because I had this mad mum, we used to basically build ramps and skate parks in my backyards. And I'm like, me and my mates would go break into building sites and we'd haul us all the material across the highways to my house and build ramps. And because of that, and because I could skate good, I don't know, I just had a lot of people around in my house. But let me tell you, like the minute I picked up the heavy drugs, they all dropped off pretty quick, And by the age of 16, I had no friends left. But yeah.
Wow. Danny, tell me about the first time you decided to pick up like any drugs, like, and what was thinking? Like, I want to know what was going on there, like, because we're all brought up. I'm sure your mum and people around you said, told you like they do, drugs aren't good for you, don't do that kind of stuff. But like, how did that go for you?
Yeah, my mum and dad were going to give it one last attempt at trying to save the family, which would have been my mum, right behind it. My dad. Anyway, so they moved up to Bundaberg. And the day I got up to Bundaberg, we had a mate. I had a little bit of an older friend, Ricky. Big shout out to Ricky, who moved up there a year before. He's someone I kind of grew up with, and he was a bit older, and he'd already got involved in maybe some pot smoking and alcohol. And the night I arrived in Bundaberg, I'm 14. I got drunk and stoned that night. On this outdoor roller skating ring. With all these other kids. The skating ring was shut. It was like abandoned, but we were on this outdoor roller skating ring, and I remember sort of being paralytic, drunk, stoned on pot, and sort of coming to maybe at some early hour in the morning, looking around, and there's like broken glass, bodies laying around on the ground. I thought, oh, that was mad. Like, let's do it again, and that's where it started. Like, so
Wow.
it was a conscious decision. I got drunk and stoned.
Yeah, like teenagers do when they want to try.
Yeah.
Not really thinking the consequence of the journey ahead. Tell me what that looked like, Danny. What then proceeded? Tell me what your life looked like.
Yeah. All right. So I was enrolled in school up there, Kepnock High. My God, I caused the ruckus there. But on top of that, like I basically started smoking pot maybe a few days a week. I started drinking regularly. Over the next 6 months, I basically started getting all right. So mum moved back to Sydney because it wasn't working out with my dad. I said, listen to my mum and sister. I said, you guys just go back. I said, like, it's not going to work. I manipulated everything, you know. I said, like, mum just wanted to know that I was okay. She was going to take my sister. They went back to Sydney. So then I'm left up there from your dad, right? So I'm partying every night. My dad's overseas most of the time. And when I'm left to fend, or whatever, like in our flat. And every time he'd come back from being overseas, I'd gotten us kicked out of another apartment because I'd had a big party. And the third time that happened, he thought, I can't do this, and he moved back to Sydney, probably with my encouragement too. I said, you just go, Tony, I'll be right. And so by 6 months later, I was getting smashed every night. I picked up magic mushrooms, LSD, amphetamines.
Wow.
Yeah, like it escalated pretty quick.
Is that's at 16?
Yeah, that's like at 15. That's at 15. Yeah. So
I got it right because some people might be thinking this at home. So, did you start like that journey to mask something? Do you feel that you started like because you wanted to mask what was going on, or was it just because you wanted to try something?
Yeah, can I ask? Before I answer that. Let me ask you. Do you reckon you can, like, what's your? Do you think you can just start just because you just want to? What do you say? Like, have fun? Like, do you reckon? What do you reckon? Do you reckon everything stems from trauma, or can you just get on it?
I've been interviewing different people the last 7 or 8 years, and I find that there's a lot of trauma. Everybody's got trauma, Danny. Come on, everyone's got. If you've lived, you've got trauma because you've been through stuff, right? But so I just think some kids like I did, like when I picked up, it was like I never tried anything. I wanted to I wanted to see what it was like. Everybody tries something, right? So that was like and sure, but underneath that, without me recognizing it later down the track, I got to see that there was a feeling of wanting to fit in. I too was a popular kid at school, so I was like let's I got to do something exciting, so it's all of that and the rest. But like we all in society, want love. We all want to be accepted for who we are, but so yeah, I'm not convinced that it's all trauma based, but experts say that, so I'm kind of like,
they do.
tell
Look,
me what
one
you
thing.
think.
Yeah, so for me, look, one thing I know, and I don't know why, and I learned this in recovery, but I'm so optimistic. Like I've always got, like I really am a glass half full kind of guy. So it's like it's like I do it that much that I can't even identify the trauma these days. But look, I basically to answer your question, I'm sure there was something not quite right, as a kid. Like maybe I had lots of friends, but maybe I wasn't completely comfortable in all situations. And one thing I know is when I picked up, I just loved it. That's what I know. I
Yeah,
just loved it. I just loved the rush. You said a naughty kid. I was a rebellious kid too. I loved to do anything I wasn't allowed to do, I was always going to be, and I've always been the daredevil as well, like
yeah.
all stupid shit like that. But yeah, look, yeah, like mum and family wasn't completely stable, but I kind of just think I just loved it,
Yeah, yeah. I hear you,
Yeah,
mate. And
yeah,
and but I guess you didn't know the journey it was going to take you down, and like long term. And none of us do. We just kind of like to have fun now. We'll deal with that later. I'm too young to worry about like later. But yeah, you don't kind of realize the traps and the ditches and the entrapment that end up in that a lot of people don't end up coming out of. And those that do, we're grateful for our recovery.
For sure, Andrea. Like I was locked up in boys' homes by 16. Like it's not. I almost feel like I did sign up for it too. Like uh, for some reason, going to jail didn't exactly scare me. Like I kind of thought it was cool. I thought people getting smashed and partying was cool. Um, I had no ambitions. I don't know what. I don't think I ever wanted to be anything other than just party. Like that
Yeah.
was my yeah. Like I don't ever remember wanting to be a fireman or anything particular. Um, but yeah, like I said, by the age of 16, I was locked up. Yeah, by the age of 16, I tried heroin for the first time, and
Wow.
um, I was in a flat in Cabramatta, and I can tell you this much: I didn't want to do that. That was that was against my intuition. It was against my better judgment. I was in a car with two other people who were. One of them was going to use for the first time. He was my co-offender, and he wanted to buy heroin. And I thought this is a bad idea, and that day we still did. Next minute, I was sitting in this dingy little flat in Cabramatta with the drug dealer injecting heroin into my arm. And look, if anything, that was the day my life completely spiraled out of control. You know, it wasn't long before that, after that, I was locked up in boys' homes. And my life really, for that, between 14 and 16 was kind of like my experimentation phase. And
Yeah.
picking up heroin at 16. And just so you know, like ice, I picked up ice around about 26, and that was how I finished my last 6 years in addiction. But heroin was where it started.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And at the age of 16, I have a lot of questions, right? You're 16 years
Sure.
old. Are you in school?
Hey.
You're 16 years old. Were you in school?
Um. No, I wasn't. I'd been kicked out of school by then.
Okay. So I'm thinking you're 16, you're kicked out of school, you're on heroin. What did you do? Like, what did your day look like to start with? And did your family
Yeah.
know what's going on? I'm sure you had.
Bless them. I put the
Fam-
family through hell. So I lived at home with mum. And I lived in the garage, right, which is out the back. I decked out the garage to my own little apartment. This is probably from around about 15 and a half. I have the garage decked out as my own little apartment. So I come and go and do whatever I want. Like, I guess mum and my sister were kind of even scared about some of the shit I was getting into, and they tried to stop me, but well, unless they're going to call the police on me, and that certainly did happen, um, they're not going to stop me. So, um, yeah. So I forgot the question.
Yeah, now, like, did they know that you're on
Oh
heroin? You
yeah,
were
yeah.
in
They
trouble.
knew. But
They try and
they
help.
knew. But, yeah, yeah. They tried to. Mum tried to help her whole life. Like I
Yeah,
can't imagine, and I always say I can't imagine what a mum would go through with her child using heroin. Like how, and even like using heroin's one thing and ice, but what about the times when they're just missing and they're out there in stolen cars, committing crimes? Maybe they're going to get shot. They're going to overdose. Like that's the real. Like using heroin's one thing, but not knowing where they are for days,
yeah,
that's horrible, like that's and I have been on the other side of the coin now. So being in recovery for 13 and a half years, I've certainly experienced loved ones being in that situation, and it's the most sickening power. Like you talk about powerlessness, I
yeah,
truly somewhat understand what that means, It's
yeah.
horrible, horrible,
It's hard.
horrible. Yeah.
And so, tell me, another question for you: is there anything that you think that your mum could have done different
No.
to help you make different, better choices for yourself?
No, no way. I don't think any of this has anything to do with my mom or my dad. Like my mom blames herself for years. Okay, and it's in one of those films that I've released this week. SBS interviewed my mom. It's really sad, and she's in tears. I say it with a smile on my face just because, like, it's a bit uncomfortable, I guess. But she's in tears talking about she thought I would be better off. She didn't say dead, but that's what she meant. So I was, say, 6 years into a full heroin addiction and I was in jails, homeless, going through all that shit. And she said her words were, I thought he would be better off not being here. So
Wow.
imagine like so yeah, and there's nothing, and she blames herself for my dad as well because my dad was loose. My dad has
Yeah.
never once shown any affection about. He threw me through the wall twice or three times when he caught me completely out of it, but like literally through the wall. But apart from that, my dad's never shown any emotion towards that stuff. So mum blamed herself for that, but.
Yeah.
Man, you wouldn't have stopped me. Like, all right, I wouldn't have done it there. I would have just done it somewhere else.
Yeah. So you're using at 16. You're using heroin. You're like running your own show. You're kind of running wild. Tell me what happened after that. Did you get in trouble with the law and all of that? Like, or
Yeah. So I was,
where were you living?
I was. Oh, did you say where was I living?
All of the
Oh,
above. Yeah, I've got so many questions. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
just
sure.
popping.
Yeah, I was. I was kind of in trouble on and off. I got locked up in boys' homes for a couple of weeks just for warrant. I also got done for writing a check from an employer who took me in to give me a chance. I stole a check off him and wrote a check in my own name. So a couple of little things like that. By the time I was 18, I was locked up in Parramatta prison for break and enters. And look, between 18 and 28, I spent the next about over half of that time in jail as well. So I had my son. My son was born in 2001. And I remember this delusional chat that my partner, my girlfriend, me and my mum had about when the baby's born, we're going to stop using drugs. It's really sad, which did not happen. It did not happen. I was on the methadone by that time too. And I was starting to use amphetamines and ice. Like, I was around, Andrea, when Shabu, they called it Shabu. When ice very first hit Sydney, it was in Cabramatta. Maybe it was elsewhere too, but I believe it hit Cabramatta first, and it was called Shabu. I remember like getting on that back then, and it's like, because I'd always just bought heroin from Cabramatta, and then this drug dealer's got this other thing called Shabu, and we had it. And I kind of just chased that for the rest of my addiction, as well as methadone and heroin.
The thing was, Danny, I actually heard about Shabu. It actually impacted my life, my family's life. But I had like this guy we knew was on it, and he blew up a car and he put an axe to somebody's knee that I knew, and I'm like, man, what's wrong with this dude? He's lost the plot. But I did not associate it with that pipe that day that I was offered it, and I was like, I had no idea it was the same thing. I had no idea what was in it. It just looked like a classy little thing. I saw the impact of that, but that wasn't what I was having, And so when we go into schools and we're talking, detention centres and prisons, and we're talking a lot of different areas and we talk about different names for, methamphetamine, which is one ice, Shabu, Frank, and, there's all Tina and all kind of, not Frank, but there's all kind of other names for it. And it's like, the list goes on. Every day there's a new name, but they fooled me. So thanks for bringing that up, because that's really relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Shabu and so look, it was just my whole look. It gets all messy, In all that time, I would use dirty needles in the back of flats in Cabramatta on the Shabu. I'd be hauled up in the Grandstand Hotel. I got to say that for laugh, because Grandstand Hotel plays a big part of my addiction. I know people out there. The Grandstand Hotel was has been shut down now for quite some time, but it was a big criminal racket going on there. They were doing all sorts of bad shit there, and it was a place where you could just go and pay in cash and get a room for a couple of days, no ID. And we'd have stolen cars there. We'd have all our stolen equipment in there. I'd been chased by police out of there in big high-speed police pursuits, and yeah, so that was a big part of just messy. It was
Yeah.
always messy. It was in and out of jail. Yeah.
All right, that is a mess. So this is that. So now gone through from 14 to right through to 26. You're now
Yeah.
using, and so you've been in and out of prison, detention centres, juvie homes. Parents are going back to Sydney and going, we don't know how to handle this kid. Right? I would imagine, and crying every night like most parents do, trying to find out answers and how to help. That's why I kind of wanted to know, do you think there was anything that your mum could have said or done? Because we often, have parents call, we can help the person if they want help to get out of that pain and entrapment, but, we can't make the person in addiction, we can't make them nobody. It doesn't matter what people say. Half the time you don't hear what people say anyway. Was that the same for you?
Yeah, and Dave, on that subject, like I know there's probably like for a loved one, they'd be thinking when I say that there's nothing you could do, they feel even more powerless, But I have worked out a bunch of stuff because I worked in a rehab for over 10 years, and in that time, I took thousands of calls from loved ones of those affected by drugs and alcohol, either in prison, on the streets, homeless, and I've kind of worked out a pretty and I've asked this question quite a few times, right, on social media. Is there anything you can do? And actually, the answer is a lot of the time is no, there's nothing you can do. But they say that all that stuff that you guys are doing too, it's not going unnoticed as well. Like so there is a bunch of things. I think the loved one is a true victim for starters of addiction. I don't reckon it's the addict. Like even at my lowest of low, living homeless under the bridge in Woolloomooloo, I always say this, hanging out in withdrawals, hungry, haven't had a shower. Like I always had hope that I was going to get on, and I would. I'd be stoned probably in the next couple of hours. That's at my worst. But my mum, my dad, my sister, my brother, they're the ones out there suffering. So, like to those people, I would have to say that they're the true victims. And I think some things that we can do is the loved one's the one that has to put in all the work, like they need to do research on services that might be available in the neighborhood because you only get a split moment in time. It's like the stars and planets align. And if you're not ready and prepared with that information to pass to your loved one at that exact right time, you might miss the boat, So on that, like find out rehabs around Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, counseling services, refuges as well, because a loved one also needs to put themselves first as well. Like if you can't look after yourself, you definitely can't really be there for your loved ones. And if you can't put in boundaries, which is probably one of the most hardest things in the world for a mum or a father to say to their kid, no, but if you don't do that, you're actually maybe enabling your child to keep using for another 5 years. Where if you finally cut them off, hard, let's call it tough love. If you cut them off, maybe that's the little kick they need to snap out of it. And you know what the horrible thing is? Some people might die as well when you do that as well. And it happens. Like it just happens. But
and I think that's the fear. I think maybe family they're afraid that their child or their loved one's gonna die. But they have to make their own choices, and unless you let go, they can't do that. And that's why we have the buddy system for AARC, because the family often have spoken so much and loved and said don't do that, we're hurting, we're destroying your life, all of that. But the minute recognizing the best thing I reckon a family can do is get some training around the cycle of addiction, understanding when contemplation stage is, and having the services at hand, like you said, right? So they can just pull us in at the right time when that person contemplation, and get the buddy who's lived through it to come alongside the person in addiction and offer all the resources, the rehab pathway, the day rehab, live in rehab, whatever, and just walk with that person to help them, get in a place where they're getting better. So instead of trying to do it all yourself, I mean, that's what we know the way out. We know the resources. We know all of that. So we walk and talk from a place of, yeah, I've been there. I know what you're going through. And I think that's such a critical and needed service in our community, because by the time, like, a lot of parents and family members call us, they're so tired, and they're out of answers, and they're hurt, and they're like, I don't know what to do anymore, And so we give them a training called Sammy Brief. It's a 2-hour online training. They can learn about the cycle of addiction, what contemplation stage looks like, also how to have a conversation of, what's it costing you to stay in this life? What's the benefits? And we teach them how to have that conversation. And then when that person's ready for change, then we jump in and we help them create that change. So it's been an incredible, at least the parents and the family can get armed with the information they need, So it's just
it's so incredible, Andrea. It's so amazing what you guys have done. Like, that's just so incredible that you can offer that, honestly. It is. And any of my viewers out there too, like, yeah, what you just explained then would be so helpful for a loved one to be able to sort of understand a little bit more, because a lot of the problem is, and this is fact, is let's say a loved one probably calls, let's say, 200 different services in their time because they're desperate, right? Probably 95% of those services will just turn them away. And like, that makes me really angry, because like, I don't understand why anyone would turn him away. You're at work. You get paid to be at work. Even if you're a volunteer, what are you doing there? Give the person some time and listen to them. Like, but how doesn't people always go, oh, no, sorry, we don't take them, or we don't do that, without even giving them another referral? That makes me angry. I don't know why people do that. And that's why loved ones, I think, are so lost.
Yep.
And you got this mad thing that you trade them up. Like, you help them.
Oh, look, we all do our bit, bro. You look what you're doing. Like, we're going to get to that. I don't want to dismiss.
Yeah, sure.
We're all parts of creating change. We're all lights creating change. And so we've gone through something. What can we use what we've gone through for good, for the community, for ourselves and for others, around us? And, for myself, I see a lot of people hurting. So it's like, oh, man, how can I teach them what I know? And help them with what I've been through, and you're doing the same, Danny. Like, it's just at the tail, once they're coming through recovery, that's when you can strengthen them and keep them focused on vision. So we will get there. I'm not going to jump the gun too much, because I want to hear about a little bit more about what happened after. So you got on ice, and then what was the catalyst for change for you, Danny? I want to know, like, 14, 26, all this stuff's gone down. This kid's life is, jail, boys' home, all of this stuff. What in the world could create change? Your parents couldn't change you. Like, what was it?
Okay, so I'm 33 by the end of my road, right? I come to the turning point at 33. I have been to 49 rehabs and detoxes and institutions.
Wow.
Because of my beautiful mum, I was literally known on a first name basis at St. Vincent's Hospital, St. Leonard's Hospital, Cumberland Hospital, Basement 82, all these detoxes. I used to go in there because I was using a lot of ice. I'd go in there just for a sleep almost. Like, I wouldn't even go in there And I'd go because Mum would be on my back or something, or the coppers or the courts would be on my back. But I'd go in there and I would leave. The minute I'd straighten up, I'd pretty much just pack up my shit and leave. And anyway, the 50th attempt, I say it like that. I don't know if it was exactly that number, but I went to rehab and I had about 60 days abstinence, right? Which I'd done before quite a few times. Like 60 days was and anyway, it was Christmas Day, Andrea. It was Christmas Day 2009, and I'd been invited home to my family's house. I was in rehab. I've been invited home for like a Christmas lunch, and look, to be honest, I didn't want to go. I was full of shame, all the guilt and all the stuff I'd caused. Like me in recovery, raw and unguarded, is a really scared human being. Like I hated myself in those early days. And anyway, I went home and I left there. Like I'm sitting around the Christmas table, right, with 15 family members, neighbors, cousins, all that. Like I've hurt, stolen, robbed every single one of those people at that table. Like it's just sickening. And imagine for them too, right? But I'm just talking about my part. Anyway, and I left there that day. I'm heading back to King's Cross or back to the city where I was in rehab. And I got off the train at Town Hall Station. I thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go and get on. I'm going to go up to King's Cross. I'm going to get on the ice and I'm going to buy some heroin and I'm going to have it together. And I'll probably end up back in detox, probably end up back in rehab, back in jail, dead, or I could get on the bus across the road and I could go back to the rehab where they were expecting me. And that day, for the very first time in my life, I weighed up. I don't know. I made up my decisions. It was the hardest decision of my life to change my mind. I never decided I'm going to get on and not got on. Like I always just got on, and regardless of the consequences. And that day I didn't. I made a different decision for the very first time ever in my entire life. And I got on that bus. I went back to rehab. I told the workers. It felt like I did relapse because I was cashed up. I was about to throw it all away. I'm going to do this next week for sure. And a miracle happened that day, Andrea. I never, ever even come close to picking up another drink or a drug since that day. And that was 13 years and 6 months ago today. So that was the turning point, you know.
That's amazing.
Miracle, huh? Crazy.
So that choice, like did that like how did you continue making that choice? Because every day we're going to make that choice, Danny. You know, it's not
Sure.
it's not easy.
That was the first time. You're so right, Andrea. That's it. Yeah, it's not as if a miracle happened, dead, sweet now. Like I've continued to work my ass off every single day. I still continue to work my ass off. Today, I was around at this poor bloke house who's stuck in a putrid addiction. He's almost dead. And on the phone to a detox with him and took him some food. And I sat with him for a little while. And we've hopefully got him organised to get into the Hills Clinic on Thursday. So my point is, I continue every single day, and I do a lot of 12-step fellowship stuff. I give back to the community I've got a higher power, like I found some kind of something bigger and better than me. I've got a sponsor, a mentor who I speak to regularly. So I kind of jumped through that a bit quick, but that's like I work my ass off. Let's just say that. But the hard way is actually the easy way. Like all that stuff I just talked about, it might sound like the hard way, but it's the easy way because the easy way, all the shortcuts, the loopholes, all the backdoor entrances just gets me back in detox, back in jail or dead. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I love what you do and who you are, Danny. I really do. I just love you so much. Like,
thanks, Andrea. You too. I get excited sharing that stuff. You know, I get carried away.
Absolutely, and you're out there holding your hand out for others, and you know that is just so beautiful. That it's what we do as well, but it's beautiful to see.
I know you too.
Doing that, and that there's others doing that, you know, because absolutely every day, you know, and I think doing that work, Danny, I don't know about you, but for me, you know, when I am doing as I call it, an intervention, so we sit down and we talk about the costs and, you know, play the tape. If you keep going in this life, where's it going to lead you? what's the end of the road for you, you know, and you can have another option. And so when we do that, we often meet people at that point where they are so broken that even if we ever have a thought about picking up or using, every day we see the destruction that that lifestyle causes in front of us, and it's like, you know, I don't want that. I hate this world. I hate what it's doing to people, you know. And you grow this that this hate for, I guess, those kind of substances that you know, that take people to such a horrific space, you know, and just destroying them. And so, you know, with compassion that we have because we've been there, it, you know, it's easy to help someone walk out of that, but you know, it helps us as well stay clean. Do you know?
Definitely. I think that's why I'm still here. I this time around, and I tried recovery 49 other times. This time around, I did everything different. You know, they said to me, Danny, you don't have to change much, just everything. And that's exactly what I did. And for example, one of those things was I didn't want to help anybody else. I couldn't help myself, but in helping somebody else, I helped myself as well. You know.
I love that statement. You said
Yeah.
change. Tell me what everything looked like. How did you change everything?
Oh, well, it was a slow process. Like, um, when I say it was a slow process, like I was still, you know, I was still up to no good in the early days of my recovery. You know, I was probably still stealing a little bit, and well, I was. You know, I was getting myself in trouble with girls. I was, you know, I was being dishonest. I was lying when I didn't even have to lie to people. So all those behaviors, you know, we call them old behaviors, but they're not old behaviors if you're still doing them, you know. So I still had behaviors, and do you know what really changed? It actually took me a couple of years before I changed all that stuff. I scored a job in the rehab that I went through. Now, when I started working there, like I'm still ripping off Centrelink, had 2 years clean, right? And when I started working, I thought, fuck, I have to stop. I have to stop everything now because I've got to lead by. Like I took it real serious, you know. I've got to
Yeah.
lead by example now. So I literally, pretty much in a couple of weeks of knowing I'd scored this job, I stopped um, doing illegal activity. Um, I stopped my Centrelink stuff. I started just doing everything. I stopped throwing litter on the ground. Something as simple as that is a really dishonest behavior that'll lead me to use, I believe. You know, it's crazy. Um, all this stuff that I had to really change. So all my friends, there was no one from my past, no one from my past in my contacts.
Yep.
I stayed away from pubs for even for meals and stuff. Like I didn't need to be there.
Yep.
I threw myself in the middle of recovery because they say if you hang around on the fence, you'll fall off, mate. So I just chucked myself in the middle.
That is just so
Yeah,
inspiring. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing that. You know, some people that you know going, this is the way, and they go, oh no, but I don't want to get rid of all my friends now, but I don't want. I still want to go like and do this kind of, yeah, and that, you know, is be somewhere that you've got to be accountable. You know, AAIC is one vehicle. You know, become part of the organisation. You know, we do drug testing. You've got to be accountable. You're representing, you know, recovery, health and well-being, and so you kind of like. I know it did for me anyway. You know, and I know it does for so
sure,
many.
definitely.
Couldn't possibly relapse even if I wanted to. You know, I got too many reasons, too many people were helping, too many things that I got to stay focused for. Like, how could I? You know, and so
What a
it's not.
scary thought.
But you know, you absolutely you jumped in, 2 feet in, and you immersed yourself and surrounded yourself with people doing recovery and good things.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's not going to be easy, but it's definitely worth it. And all the shortcuts, like I said, look, some people make that, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to risk it. I don't want, like, I know there's a bunch of things. And look, I don't mean to get on my high horse and shit, because I'm not, definitely. But I truly think even if you just scrape by, let's say you scrape by for 5 years without picking up a drink or a drug, and you're doing a half-assed effort. You're not really participating. You're so close to falling off. You know what I mean? And I've seen so many people fall off. If you want to make sure you can't, I guess I don't believe I can make sure I'm never going to use again. But if you want to give yourself the best chance, I needed to do everything. And I'm just talking from my own experience because I tried so many times and none of it was working. So this time around, I had to build that solid foundation, and I continue building it still. Like it never stops.
And it's true, Danny. You're one decision away from being when you do really, you end up in a worse position than you were even before. It's like you never stopped. You went backwards, like the worst, right? But one decision. You can make one decision and go right back there, and and that's why we often talk about the tripod system of support. Surrounding yourself with people that you're accountable. You have a sponsor or a buddy. You go to meetings. You have a counselor. You're actually doing recovery. And if you think you can just stay clean and not do recovery, you're just a time bomb waiting to happen. An opportunity, one choice, before you fall over. And that, it's so critical to have that framework of support around you, so that, you get a bit, life happens, man. Like, I don't know about you, but I had a crap day, and I was like, I don't know, I don't like life today, and those days, like, it does happen, right? And those days, it's like, how easy it is to just go, oh, I'm just going to pick up a drink, or I'm just, think about it at least, like, it is easy to do that, but you don't have an amazing life, and you turn it to gratefulness and see all the things that you've been able to be and experience and have in your life today that, you don't want to lose. Isn't that, like, it's so important?
True, yeah. Look, there's like the amount of things I can't even say I can't lose because I can. But like my daughter, my beautiful daughter, she's 5. And her mum isn't the most stable person in the world, so they both need me on my best. Like, and my son, my everything about my life needs me to be doing this. But you know what? Like they're saying, recovery isn't for people who want it or they need it. It's for people who do it. And I just keep doing it.
About doing now. I want to we're at the tail end of our show, and I really want you to share about what you're doing now, apart from the awareness and education that you do online, because you've got podcasts. And so tell us about you now.
Yeah. Oh, life is so crazy, Andrea, and I know it is. I know you know that because we've been talking regularly. But like, I don't know how I do so much. And I've got to say, like, please, I keep a good balance. Maybe not a good balance, but today I've even had a lay down. I've caught up with a mate who I was helping. So I do good. Like, I do have balance. It's important to have balance. But I've got Encapsulator, which is our it's a product that I designed. It's a mobile app that'll be coming out in just another 2 weeks. It's our version 3. So it's been out for quite some time, but version 3 of Encapsulator will be out in a couple of weeks' time. And what it is a virtual journaling program. It's a mobile app that allows you to record video messages to the future you. You respond to some engaging questions that appear on screen. Depending what program you choose, you might be doing a mindfulness program, or 7 stages of grief, a gratitude program, the Let It Out program, all these different mental health programs that allow people to identify something that's going on in your life, and then you can log into your account and you can answer on-screen questions which will help guide you to explore your emotions, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your future aspirations, and then you can choose to lock that content away to a future date. And
Wow.
as you progress towards your goals, you'll continue updating your time capsule video programs until you meet your goals. It's a way to document, track, and reflect our lives and capture the essence of who you are today, raw and unguarded, and deliver that message of love and hope to the future you. So that's one thing I do.
I saw it really came to life when I saw that show, the interview that you did when I actually got to
Sure.
because it's one thing you're talking about it, but so we have a saying that says, "Without a vision, my people perish." Right. So, and my dad used to say when I was a kid, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like unless you paint that vision, and that's kind of what you're doing, right? You're encapsulating the future you what you want to tell yourself when you get there, right? So it's pretty amazing, the concept of it. But do you just do it for one time, or do you do it for different points in your life?
No, so it's really cool. So no, it's definitely not a one-time thing. Look, the more often you start exploring and talking about your feelings and identifying them out loud. So often with counseling, for example, we walk in there, or a psych or whatever it is, we've got some face, some mask on, some front on as well. Well, we've encapsulated, we're helping individuals to talk a little more freely and explore some of their emotions, right? And I believe that there's a couple of things that happen. When we express out loud our hopes, our dreams, we become more accountable and motivated to reach those goals because we've said it out loud. More importantly, we might never speak about that stuff, but because you're talking to your future self alone and no one else is going to see this, you might start talking about some of that stuff, which breaks some of the stigma. And then next time you get professional help, you might just talk about that stuff as well. So as you go through our programs, you'll tick off little boxes and you can update as regular and as often as you wish, depending what program you're using. For example, if you're using I call it the checkup from the neck up program. It's a daily inventory, allowing you each night or each morning to reflect on what you've done well today, and is there something you could do better tomorrow. And when we start getting into that pattern, we start to sort of move forward and identify what's going on. So, no, it's an ongoing program, to answer your question.
So and how many programs are there, Dennis?
There's 15. There's 15 programs. And look, we hope to have an index of hundreds of programs coming soon. Like, we're going to be able to give other coaches, for example, like the opportunity to create their own program. So, for example, Australian Anti-Ice Campaign or Andrea Simmons as a coach, you could design your own program, and in your program there'll be a welcome video from you, and then there'll be a series of questions that the participant will answer, which will pop up on their screen. And so you'll guide them through exploring whatever it is you're teaching, basically. And so we hope in the future to have hundreds of programs on there, and people can just basically type in what it is they want to learn or explore. They'll find their program, and then they'll go ahead and add it and start doing it. It's cool. Yeah, it's.
I can't wait to. I want to do one too. I can't wait to get on.
Sure. Andrea, on top of that, we're also I'm running some NDIS support life skill development workshops. So we're together with a team. I run these online sessions a few times a week where individuals who are funded through the NDIS can come together in a safe place and start getting them to learn a few tools. Like tomorrow's group is on values, basically. So over an hour, we'll get together. It's an engaging community. We'll talk about values, exploring our values. We'll do some worksheets, and we'll also check in on the participants at the end of that. What the idea specifically is just to help people get out of their isolation and get connected with like-minded people in the same community as well. So that's something else we're doing, which is going really well. And then on top of that, I run a Patreon page with running groups as well. This is what I mean. Like, life is a bit crazy,
What page? What was that?
Oh, it's called Patreon. It's similar workshops, but it's like a subscription service where people can come and join for a very low price. Join our groups as well. We're online therapy groups. We've got this really
Yeah.
cool community there of addicts in addiction, addicts in recovery, and family members, and we just come together and support one another. And I guide the group through a certain topic, for example.
That's incredible. That is so, and that's online, so people can join online.
Yeah, I should have had the links available. Yeah, you can just you if you go to my Facebook, Danny Shannon, I've been verified on Facebook, so I'll pop up as your number one. You'll find my Patreon link there if anyone's
Yeah.
interested. And if you've got any questions, they can just reach out to me. And just send me a DM. I respond to every single message. I spend hours a day responding to messages, even. You know?
Love your work, bro. I love your
Yeah.
work.
Thanks,
That
Andrea. You're the best.
couples up so much with what we do. Like, you know, when people feel strong and they're in recovery and they got all the right tools and they work through some stuff, you know, and they have 12 months clean, they might want to consider, you know, coming on board with ARC to do some workshops schools or you know, support people. We have what we call recovery coaching, so people that can become recovery coaches and work through the NDIS platform as well as through our buddy system. So there's, you know, there's so much that, you know, between the two of us here, we're offering so much support to community. And
For sure.
please send me the links
Yeah, I
of what,
will.
so we can
I
put it up.
definitely will. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. I will.
So any, like, we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I don't want to miss anything. There's so much in that we could talk for days, honestly. Any last minute like chats? I know there's two people online, one particularly that's surrounded by, she's trying to get clean. She's surrounded by family members that are using. That's one thing. But I guess any last minute messages that you want to give to people that might be sitting on the fence or contemplating change, and wanting to get clean and have a life like like we got our life back. I always say I stole my life back, and you can do it too. So
Definitely. Andrea, first for that person who is surrounded by people using and family members, what a horrible place to be. And I've got to say, like, go back to that thing, like if you want to be okay, you need to remove yourself from that, you know. I feel like, and I understand that it's not always, for example, a mum who's got kids. Yeah, like there's a lot of examples where I understand you can't just get away, you know. But if nothing changes, nothing changes, you know. It's really that simple. Like, you have to put in some huge change, otherwise it's not going to change, you know. I would definitely say, if you're in danger, if anyone's, you know, on that side of things, like, if you're in danger, do what needs to be done to protect yourself too and your children. Please, they can reach out to me anytime. But so yeah, just sending that person so much love and my thoughts too. I can't imagine what, you know, how difficult that would be. And to anyone else on the journey of addiction or recovery, I would just say, do not ever give up. You know, I spent 17 years out there in the pain, hurt, misery, and I used to tell people I was on the methadone for 13 years as well. I don't think I covered that, but I used to think I was just like being a diabetic and I just needed my insulin every day. I used to tell people, like, get off my back. It's just like being a diabetic. Here's me, 60 kilos, looking like a half-sucked aspirin, on the methadone, on the ice, on the heroin. And I just thought, this is the life I've been dealt. But it's, look at, I mean, I'm not that person, and I didn't give up. If you're a loved one supporting a family member, please put in the things you need to, but don't give up either. Like, do it from afar. Tough love. I see Andrew just commented on you, Andrew, brother. Yeah, tough love, but yeah, don't ever give up, mate. You got this.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Beautiful message. Guys, beautiful message, amazing inspiration, such a gift to our society. Danny, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing.
you, Joe. You too,
sharing
mate.
Story tonight and sharing the good work that you're doing. Like it's just such a gift to humanity. And I'm going to put some links once you send them through. I'll put some links on the bottom of the show so people can know how to reach out and to become part of some of these groups and also encapsulator. And guys, recovery is possible. And I hope that you got a lot out of the show tonight. We're really grateful to liaise and know Danny and have somebody in Sydney that we can go, hey, we got someone that needs help, we throw him over to. But we're going
that's great.
at
We're
live
very lucky. Like, it's networking, isn't it? Power of networking, mate. Look at us.
huge. And I'm super excited about the radio show we're going to start.
Yes.
Shout out. So, guys, it's called Recovery and Beyond. And Danny and I are going to be chatting. Danny and Chelsea and Andy. And we're going to be doing a live radio podcast for you. It's live, and you'll be able to actually call in and have a chat with us and talk about different topics. Yeah. And we're like, call us.
So we've got a caller coming in from Queensland. Put them on loudspeaker, something like that. Well, it's going to be so awesome, Andrea. I can't wait. Interactive chat.
I still got to get my microphone. I know you've got your set, but we're trying to get a sponsor to get 2 microphones, one for Chelsea, one for me. As you know, we're an unfunded charity, so putting it out there. We're looking for 2 microphone sets for our computer so we can go live, but we will be hopefully accepting calls and being able to help with tools and just talk about recovery, different things that we go through. And I'm super excited about Recovery and Beyond, Danny, and with you again. Thank you so much.
No worries, Andrea. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for all the support and encouragement. Thank you for the comments. I'll go through them at the end of the show.
And share the show. Share the show so we can reach people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Can I teach you our little not even once slogan, Danny?
I know it.
Look at you. Not even once. That's it.
Yeah. You're not even once. I know, Andrea. Don't worry. I'm onto it. I love what you do. I'm inspired by what you do.
I'm going to send you one of our caps.
Yes, please do. I'll wear it. I'll represent.
Yay. Love your work, Danny. Thank you so much for sharing. Good night. God bless. Stay safe and stay clean. Good night.
Thanks, Andrea. I will. Bye-bye.